Infinity Stone. These stones, it seems, can only be brandished by beings of extraordinary strength. Observe. These carriers can use the stone to mow down entire civilizations like wheat in a field.
Excelsior True Believers, what's up guys? Oh snap, we're back with another new video. Today we're looking at Eternals and what we know about it. This video is going to start off a little bit differently to the other ones that I've made, basically because we're just going to be sort of looking at the Celestials, which are basically guaranteed to be showing up in this film. The promo art that we've gotten for this film so far has shown us the Eternals in their costumes and at least 4 Celestials, and what they will look like. So I'm going to sort of quickly go through what they are, how I think they might be able to tie in and help tidy up any plot points that are unresolved from the Infinity Saga, and then we're going to get into the rest of the video, so let's dive into it. Okay, so the Celestials are a race of godlike beings that have appeared in the MCU already. There was the head of a dead Celestial that is the location Nowhere, and then in the scene at the beginning, that particular Celestial that wielded the Power Stone was Aeson the Searcher. It was led to us to believe that Benicio del Toro's character, the Collector, and Jeff Goldblum's Grand Master are also maybe Celestials. I think it was they're supposed to be Elders of the Universe rather than Celestials, but what the MCU decides to do, I don't know. I looked up sort of what we know on a couple of different sites. One of them was Inverse, and they sort of, that was what they had said, that they are supposedly supposed to be Celestials, but I think they're just Elders of the Universe, same as what they are in the comics. They are actually brothers as well, which is why they both have the little bit of makeup under there that could just be part of their species, that they have a little bit under the center of their lip that's a different colour. So yeah, at the dawn of mankind in Marvel Comics, a Celestial called Nezar the Calculator visited Earth and granted a certain number of prehistoric humanoids the ability to tap into a cosmic power that vaguely resembles the Infinity Stones, which, that wording alone basically cements the idea in my mind that when they finally introduce Galactus to the MCU, he will be a Celestial, because he's going to allow his Herald to tap into the power cosmic, which is just a cosmic power. It's already written itself. They don't have to, you know, make him different to these other godlike beings. He can just be a younger member of this particular race, which would be kind of cool. The other thing too that vaguely resembles the Infinity Stones is very interesting as well. We do know that from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Ego said that he was a Celestial, a god, a little g, and in the comics there is a 7th Infinity Stone called the Ego Stone. Potentially if Aeson the Searcher was the keeper of the Power Stone, and then there was some sort of war and they ended up being scattered and no longer looked after by the Celestials who were supposed to be their keepers. potentially Ego was the keeper of the Ego Stone. It may have been white, which is why his brain was white in that film. Would have been cool to see, but just the fact that they decided to take Ego, the living planet, and make him a Celestial after showing us that Celestials can harness Infinity Stones, and there being a seventh one called the Ego Stone. We don't know, but it would be pretty cool. There is also a theory that the head that is nowhere is the head that Ego's brain once lived in. Would have taken a really hard knock to the head, basically have gotten amnesia and then woken up as just a floating brain in space, and then building a world around himself as the story in Volume 2 goes. But yeah, that's just my little theory on the Celestials. Moving on. So using these powers, the Eternals are able to augment their own life force, making them invulnerable and essentially immortal. Using psionic powers, they can manipulate matter at the molecular level to do almost anything. Their power levels, specialities, and interests vary with their characters, but the immortality seems to unify them into a kind of strange family, which makes sense if they're going to be sort of like a new family as far as Marvel's concerned. They would have shown up in Guardians films to begin with, where one of its central themes is family. Could also mean that the spacefaring adventures depicted in the Fantastic Four films from 2005 and 2007 could potentially be a part of their origin in the MCU, since they are Marvel's first family. Now, because the Eternals' existence spans most of human history, their stories and conflicts could conceivably overlap with all sorts of human events, and Kevin Feige has actually gone on record to say that it's going to explore, like, what if some of humans' myths are just retellings of our primitive understandings of these beings, and that, you know, these are actually the gods that were worshipped. And you'll see that their names sort of meet up with mythological characters and gods from various ancient societies. Alright, so who's in it, what's it about, when will it release, where will it release, and how's it going to tie in? Other than all of that aforementioned stuff, obviously, there's still a little bit to go through of how it's going to tie in. Alright, so who's in it? Angelina Jolie as Athena, obviously starting off real strong here with that confirmation from Kevin Feige that I mentioned just a second ago. Athena sounding very similar to Athena, the goddess whose namesake is the city of Athens in Greece. So we're already starting off seeing how this superpowered individual to an ancient civilization seems like a god. So Angelina Jolie as Athena, Salma Hayek as Ajak, we've got Richard Madden as Icarus, who is, at least in the comics, sort of the leader of the Eternals as far as being a superhero team is concerned. We've got Lauren Ridloff as Makari. If it's unclear here, actually no, I'll go through that at the end. Kumail Nanjiani as Kingo, Brian Tyree Henry as Phastos, Don Lee as Gilgamesh, Leah McHugh as Sprite, Barry Keoghan as Druig, Gemma Chan as Cersei, and Kit Harington as Dane Whitman, Black Knight. Alright, so some of these I don't know the origins of, or like what gods they're supposed to be, but obviously, as I said, Athena, Ajak is Ajax. There are two Ajax, both of them fought in the Trojan War. One of them ended up losing out on like a princess or something to, I think it was Odysseus, and so he ended up burying the hilt of his sword in sand and jumping on it. I can't remember what happened to the other one. I also can't off the top of my head remember which one is Ajax the Greater and which one's Ajax the Lesser, or Telamonian Ajax and Locrian Ajax. And even there, I can't remember which one of those is. Anyway, Icarus is sort of speaking for itself. Icarus and the waxen wings, obviously. Makari being from Roman mythology, being Mercury. His Greek counterpart being Hermes. Phastos is obviously Hephaestus, the smithing god from Greek mythology. I'm not sure on Kingo. I would have to look into that. Gilgamesh is, I'm pretty sure, a hero from Babylon. I think it's Babylonian mythology. Sprite is just sort of a sprite, an elf, a dwarf, a gnome, a sprite. Druids, in the druidic religion of the Celtic people, and then Circe is another Greek goddess. She was seen as, I think she was seen as like a goddess of magic. I think she might have been like a good magic as opposed to Hecate's evil magic and witchcraft. I would have to double check that though. I do know that she's a Greek goddess though. Alright, so have I? Yeah. So yeah. Alright, so what is it going to be about? For whatever reason, I've written what 2 lines under where I've actually started the paragraph. Anyway, so it's going to span, the story's going to span a couple of centuries, and as such, the chances are high that familiar faces previously introduced in the view will show up, or at minimum be referenced. These may be things like reminding us that there was Aeson the Searcher, or that, Ego was a Celestial before. We may even get to see him as a different version of that character, still in his body before being decapitated during whatever war causes the Celestials to lose the Infinity Stones across the cosmos. If that happens, that is the perfect time to just sort of cameo Gore as an actual character that exists, which would help set up Thor Love and Thunder, where it's heavily debated that he is just realised that now. That'd be cool. That'd be so cool. And I didn't even put Thor in it, how it's going to tie in. Okay, cool. Figuring stuff out as I read it to you. Yeah, no, that'd be cool. Anyway, so the Eternals will span, and this is actually giving us a number now, 7,000 years, and move through different periods in time. Babylon 800 BC has been rumoured as a setting and time period. And as I said before, I'm pretty sure that's going to be a Gilgamesh scene, or at least like a Gilgamesh-led scene, since he is from them. Like the name of Gilgamesh comes from Babylonian mythology. The film will introduce the Deviants, an offshoot of the evolutionary process that created sentient life on Earth, instigated by the alien Celestials, who wage war against their counterparts, the Eternals. So it's going to be Eternals, good guys, Deviants, bad guys. Thanos had a deviant gene, his parents were Eternals, he was therefore seen as genetically inferior, which is why when he was the one that came up with the idea of like, let's get rid of half the population, because that's within our ability without the Infinity Stones. Let's do that so that we can continue having a sustainable life. That's That's why he was ignored on Titan, because of his deviant gene. And then obviously Titan got, just destroyed itself, and Thanos did what Thanos did in the Infinity Saga. Where are we up to? While the Eternals possess godlike power and are generally physically beautiful by human standards, the Deviants are, for the most part, hideous or have some sort of grotesque physicality. Again, by human standards, they're seen as ugly. And not ugly in the way that Mantis was. This paragraph is really fucking tied together. I can't even remember what I got up to. Okay, yeah, so the Deviants are, for the most part, hideous, with each member of the race possessing some random physical and or cosmetic mutation that is, by celestial design, never repeated within that subspecies. So if one of them has horns, I'm pretty sure there is one that has horns. I think he got a little rumor a while back that he might appear in the film, but because he would, if that's his particular distinguishing feature, no other deviant will ever have horns like that ever again. You may get someone that has like antlers, someone else might get tusks or something, but no one will ever have just horns. Although that does raise the question of like, if it's like cow or devil horns as opposed to like ram and goat horns, are they different? Don't know. So then the story's gonna pick up with our like human characters so we can help sort of understand the story, that being Dane Whitman. He will start out as an archaeologist who will discover evidence that the Eternals exist, which may or may not happen in a place called the Tomb of the Gods. There will be a subplot involving a forbidden love between Black Knight and Cersei, which could serve as the central conflict within like the team as far as the story is concerned, with Ikaris also being romantically interested in Cersei. And since her love with Black Knight is sort of forbidden, she's not supposed to love a human, Ikaris could be trying to like, remind her of that and try to get her to leave him, sort of a thing. Only for Black Knight to, I think, eventually help fight the Deviants, and therefore convince Ikaris that it shouldn't be forbidden. Potentially. That last bit's speculation. When will it release? The official release date we've got at the moment is November 5th, 2021. This will therefore be our third and final film of 2021. It will be in theatres, and how will it tie in? It's possible the Eternals could help do a little bit of a retconning for Infinity Saga, and help link the Eternals to things like the Snap or the Blip. As I said before, Thanos in the comics was an Eternal with a deviant gene, so there could be that connection as well. And since this is going to sort of show us a bit of backstory to like a young Thanos and how he may have become the Mad Titan, it's essentially closing that arc with like a flashback of like, we know what he did and how it ended, but this is how it sort of started, just to give us some context, maybe. But with this sort of basically being the official goodbye to the Infinity Saga, would also be very fitting if the new cosmic big bad was introduced in this. That could be something like Galactus. We do know the Fantastic Four's coming. There were reports very recently, as in since I made the WandaVision video, that during that show it could come to a head possibly in like the last episode when she comes back to proper reality, if that's a thing that happens, that she'll discover that Sokovia has become Latveria during the Snap, the Blip, and then her like mental breakdown. that Doctor Doom's sort of risen up, taken residence in that that castle, which didn't actually float up with the rest of the city. It was safe. Obviously, since Ultron had already set up residence there, he wasn't going to destroy his home, since he wanted to be able to live on Earth afterwards. So that's still there. All the advanced robotics is still in the basement. So the Doombots can be set up. We'll already have that. They'll have rebuilt the city and called it Doomstar, which is the capital of Latveria. Could be very cool. So there's that as well. Both of those being Fantastic Four villains, one on Earth, one in the cosmos. Meaning that they're both prime examples of like who could be the next big bads, as well as making it very obvious that the Fantastic Four is going to be important in the next couple of phases. But yeah, so the new big bad may appear in this film, given the film's large scope and the cosmic-oriented stories of characters such as the Guardians of the Galaxy, Volume 3 is coming, Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, Captain Marvel 2, Ant-Man 3, The Fantastic Four, as I mentioned before, Thor Love and Thunder could tie into this as well, if Gore is sort of established as already having the Necro Sword and being the one that decapitated Ego. That could help tie that in. And other than that, we don't really look at anything else. Since Dane Whitman is the Black Knight being a character from Arthurian legend, it's entirely possible that he may be English, at least as far as the MCU is concerned. Dane Whitman may be an English archaeologist, and that could help set up the introduction of someone like Captain Britain, which I still firmly believe, since Dark World, a movie that no one likes to talk about, but I love it, its climax was using the Reality Stone in Greenwich, which is, in case you aren't aware, in the UK. Captain Britain's power comes from a power matrix centered on Britain. There was an Infinity Stone in use in Britain in Thor: The Dark World during the convergence when all 9 realms were witness to it. How much more power do you need concentrated on one spot on Earth before a superhero rises out of it? I'm just saying, just putting that out there. It'd be really cool if this also helped set up Captain Britain, because then we could have Captain Britain, Black Knight, and then when they get introduced, Kitty Pryde and Nightcrawler, to have like an MCU version of Excalibur, which would essentially be the English Avengers. Would be kind of cool. But yeah, that's it. That's all we've got. Not a whole heap to speculate because, once again, Marvel's playing everything close to the vest because of COVID. So not a whole heap of leaks and stuff for this. A lot of the stuff was just sort of at Comic-Cons and stuff before COVID hit. You know, like openly confirmed to be happening. As well as some set photos showing Babylon. I think there was like an Egypt one, meaning we could get a look at, and I said this in the Loki video as well, we could get a look at Apocalypse, at least, you know, before he becomes Apocalypse. Might see En Sabiner, which would then obviously help set up the big bad guy for like the X-Men and the mutants side of things, and how these guys would all play in the villains, and therefore the super teams would all play into each other for whatever the next Infinity War Endgame thing is at the end of this new saga. It'd be very interesting to see, and we might see some key plot points planted in this film simply because of its ability to go everywhere across the cosmos. So yeah, it will also help explain why Terra C53 Earth is such a hotspot, and not just because of the 4 times the Infinity Gauntlet is snapped with the stones in it, 3 of those are on Earth, but also because the Kree are now vitally aware of it because of Captain Marvel. It just happened to be the backwater planet that the Celestials chose to give superpowers to begin with. Yeah, we're gonna start to see why of all of the planets and systems that we've seen does Earth have the most superpowered individuals. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see. It's basically going to be an MCU history lesson with super heroics at the end. Should be pretty good. But yeah, that's all I've got for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you are new here, and that notification bell if you want to see when I upload videos. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Would love to talk to you about this one, simply because what we know just really leaves the door open for a whole heap of wild speculation, and that can sometimes be fun. Even if you don't agree with what the other person's saying, it can still be fun to sort of discuss that in a friendly manner. But yeah, that's all I've got, so until next time guys, keep your heads square.